Cover Killer Nation, it's time for a review. A review of a band that some may consider to be rather enigmatic. This is a band that actually has passed through the corridors of the Cover Killer Nation channel a couple of years ago with their album Epoch. And a lot of people have had very contradictory opinions about this band ever since their first album, The Malediction Fields, which came out a couple of years prior to Epoch. And as the band Fen, we're going to be talking about their album Dustwalker. Now, in 2 albums, this is a band that has definitely gotten some, well, a lot of acclaim, actually. And the acclaim has been on both directions, whether it's been positive or negative acclaim, all depending on which side of their sound that these fans tend to really enjoy. There's that darkened, depressing, very, very, just desolation-fueled, blackened style metal, depressing doom metal that you have on one side, and then on the other side you have the beautiful, luscious post-metal, the shoegazing style that we've seen from a lot of bands over the course of the past couple of years, and really over the course of the past decade, ever since, and longer than just the past decade, ever since the inception of shoegazing and post-rock. This is something that has infused itself only recently in leads into heavy metal. Now, with the last album, Epoch, this was an album that, for a lot of people, translated as very desolate because of the post-rock / shoegazing beauty, mixed with those desolation, those depraved screams, those hearkening cries that basically are crying out for, I guess, noticeability. To know that something is out there, to know that pain is ever present, to know that the landscape is one that actually fuels such feelings. Now with Dustwalker, you're actually going to sense an amalgamation of the two that actually is going to be continuing Epoch's work a little bit better. Now, this album is certainly not one for the faint of soul. It's definitely not one that can be taken on by somebody who has never listened to metal before. This is not necessarily a metal gateway drug band. For those who listen to post-rock, it might actually work a little bit better because the style is a little bit more understandably noticeable or noticeably familiar to what they already are familiar with. For example, on a track like Spectra, after the beautiful, beautiful 3 minutes of the opening that could actually move some people, myself included, to tears, the remaining 7 minutes kind of gives you that post-rock feeling of a band such as Yindi Halda, who had an album out a number of years ago called, I believe, Enjoy Eternal Bliss or something like that, that was somewhat of a parallel to what you hear on this track. Then you hear songs, though, such as Hands of Dust or Walking the Crow Path, and you start to hear that desolation side, that more of the doom metal side, the doomy black metal side, where you hear those just absolutely agonizing screams, where you hear those cries, those wretched, wretched vocals that make you feel alone and make you feel as though there is nothing and nobody in this world that is going through what you are going through or seeing the landscape that you are seeing. This is something that is truthfully and 100% based around the witnessing factor of the landscape that surrounds this band. It is being earthly conscious of what you witness in front of your own 2 eyes and reflecting it in a format that really reflects and really showcases just how alone that we are. The desolation, the loneliness, almost the humility that you feel, even though this humility is filled with emotions that can only leave you reeling, is somewhat of a beautiful duality that is very difficult to replicate. Now, this is an album that I feel also is bogged down by a principal problem. And this problem is that sometimes it feels a little bit overextended, so to speak. With Spectra, I really enjoyed the 3 minutes of harmonious bliss that you heard at the first part of the song. I think that bliss is actually a semi-reflection of desolation, only translated in a much different tongue. However, I feel that the remaining 7 minutes somewhat lag a little bit. I feel that it sometimes just seems as though they went a little over-excessive on the atmospheric nature of this element. And I feel that this is something that happens on tracks such as the Black Sound also, although the Black Sound is also a very, very good track. Hands of Dust, I think, actually is able to really balance this the best on the entire record, and Walking the Crow Path also has a very, very good mix of the two on that, but I even feel that Walking the Crow Path sometimes can get a little over excessive. Consequence actually is going to be the song that reminds most people of their earliest scrolls, of their very first album. I think that that's going to be something that for them may make them feel like they have been deceived into thinking that the sound from the first album has returned, and that post-rock shoegaze quality to this band was simply a one-off experiment that Epoch was able to present. And that is not necessarily the case whatsoever. Instead, we're seeing further experimentation. Instead, we're seeing further ramblings on into this idea. And it is actually a balance that is actually really nice. They're able to do a lot of great things with this. I hope that you can understand this. I know that you really love the first album, and I'm sure the band appreciates that, and I appreciate that. However, this added element of the post-rock shoegaze atmospheric side, whatever you wish to call it, is actually something that grants them a lot more diversity. It gives them a little bit more freedom in order to open up their passages and actually create something that is truthfully unique, even in this environment where it seems as though this style is actually being done more than perhaps is being reflected upon by the musical press. I enjoyed this album, and I really think that there are passages and moments here that can be considered some of the best of 2013. I know we're only in the first month, but I think that some of these passages and some of these moments will stand the test of the 12 months that are in front of us. However, I feel that sometimes it does get a little bit bogged down. It does get a little bit overbearing. It's almost as though there is too much emotion to shoulder. Either that, or it seems like too much is trying to be forced down upon it, and it comes up falling a little flat. This is an album that I feel has a lot of fantastic elements. This is an album that has just tremendous atmosphere. It is very aware of itself, and that self-awareness has actually granted it a lot of freedom as far as creativity is concerned. Love songs like Spectra. I love the fact that Reflections is able to take you right into Wolf's Sun, which is basically like a calm before the absolute storm. I love how Walking the Crow Path almost feels like Blackwater Park by Opeth, and the fact that it has the absolute fury that the previous song that I just mentioned has, and it's right there at the end of the album. And Epilogue, which is a bonus track, has the absolute instrumental beauty of an endpoint, almost like credits rolling after a film. With that said, though, I have to say that this is an album that, for me, isn't so much a disappointment as it is just pretty much as good as the predecessor. The predecessor, I felt, was pretty damn impressive. However, I'd have to only give this an 8.25 out of 10. For all the magical moments, there are moments that just kind of left me wanting more. Left me feeling incomplete. Left me feeling that something else should have happened, or perhaps I just didn't understand it. Maybe with repeated listens, this is something that will be absolutely changed. However, after 4 or 5, the number has remained consistent, so there you have it. This still does not mean that I am not going to recommend this album to each and every one of you. Fenn's Dustwalker is one that you should certainly examine. This is a band that has a lot of talent. This is a band that has a bright future ahead of it. This is a band that's already paved quite the impressive path. So check it out.